Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, brought to you by GamblersWorld.com. My name is Ross Benjamin of RBWins.com, and my regular guest here on our Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast, Mr. Jesse Shule of JesseShule.com, and Sean Higgs, a man of many, I don't know, a lot of something. Anyway, Sean.
A whole lot of man he is, that Sean is.
So, Sean, you once again will be competing with Jesse's attention between yourself and Jimmy Butler. So we'll see how well you do in that competition. But Jesse, how are you?
I am pumped up about game one of the NBA Finals, let me tell you.
All right. I'm glad it certainly beats the alternative. Jesse's pumped up. How about you, Sean?
Yeah, it should be a good little matchup here. We got a little spunky Miami bunch coming out of left field here. Nobody had them pegged. We thought, you got lucky versus the Bucks, but the Knicks are going to get you, the hot Knicks. Yeah. No, I mean, what's there to say? Denver's been the best team in the West basically all season, and Miami is a team. But should I go right into my little rant here about Miami?
Sure, absolutely. Go ahead.
You know, this team is a playoff tested team, right? Here they are in the finals. It's nothing new. They were here a couple of years ago, right? It's a great coach, a veteran kind of team, kind of deep. You got your role guys. But as we'd always joke about the load management kind of stuff, and we'll wait to this. I mean, does this just tell these guys, like, do enough to make the playoffs, and then, right? It's kind of like we joke about LeBron or the Clippers, like, we'll just turn it on in the playoffs. We don't need to do anything. Well, here's a case with a team that went through the motions, or maybe they didn't go through the motions.
They had a lot of injuries. They had a lot of injuries.
Are they like legit injuries? Or is it nagging stuff? You know what I'm saying, Russ? This is why the NBA's got to do something. Yeah. Like we talked about the flopping nonsense. They're going to start teching people. Good. It's a joke. It's ridiculous. They got to get these guys to play because, I'm happy for Miami. But you look at this, is this what the league's going to be here? Where it's the regular season doesn't matter? Yeah, baseball, the regular season matters. You can't just say I'm showing up after 6 months of ball and you're in the playoffs going around. It does not work that way. You got to win in April. Like the joke is, like, if you would have won that series in April, they wouldn't be in this position in September. Start the season at Christmas time. What are you doing? What are they doing? They need some changes because it's the product is terrible. This kind of stuff, you're going to get the underlying, the load management guys. Why are we playing a regular season if a team that's barely making the playoffs is going to the finals? I don't know. I'm happy for Miami. I like the Heat, I guess. They're a nice little team, but it's it's my bias towards just the NBA in general. I don't think it's a good look. I don't think it's a good look.
Jesse.
Well, it's not the matchup that everybody was hoping for. There's no doubt about that. And I think the Heat are getting a ton of disrespect. I think everybody's calling for a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. I mean, the line indicates that Miami's going to be lucky to win a game. A lot of people are saying that Miami got lucky with the Tatum injury, with the Giannis injury in the first round. I disagree wholeheartedly with all that. The end of the day, the Celtics were 2 seconds away from being eliminated in Game 6, let alone what happened to Tatum in Game 7. Miami hit 50% from the three-point range in Game 7. What was it even going to matter if Tatum stayed healthy? I mean, if a team's going to hit 50% from beyond the arc, they're going to be in every game they play when they can do that. That's the great equalizer in the game, and that's what Miami will have to rely on in the finals. I'm not sure that I want to back them to do that, but I'm not really eager to sign up and bet against them either. So that's where I stand.
All right. So there you have two perspectives going into the NBA Finals. I'll say this. I agree with Sean on the player availability during the regular season. I agree with Sean, his implications are to start the season at Christmas, which means it'll be a reduced schedule, which means you don't have to have as much load time or whatever they call that, making sure their players don't get overloaded with minutes so they're fresh at the most opportune time of the season, which is right now. But at the same time, are they encouraging teams just to do enough to make the playoffs? Well, everybody's goal to start the year, with some who are championship contenders, much higher, but most teams in the NBA's goal at the beginning of the year is to make the playoffs. Now, the way Miami did it, where they started in the play-in round and they lost to Atlanta, and then they defeated Chicago because they got a mulligan because they were number 7 seed, and then get to the playoffs as a number 8 seed, is a difficult path. And I'm not sure that many teams would want to replicate that going forward, because the chances of a number 8 seed advancing to the NBA Finals or having a successful run based on the competition they're going to have to play leads one to believe that, yes, it happened with Miami this year. They were successful in doing so. But I would say a high percentage of those teams in that similar situation going forward or in the past have not been successful. And it's been a short ride for them. So, I see where you're going with it, Sean. And I think a little bit of that final thing that you said about teams that just need to make the playoffs, and that'll be the goal from now on. I think a little bit of that is sparked by your emotion on the disappointment of how the NBA's handled the regular season and all this load management stuff. And it's festered itself now that number 8 seed is in the playoffs. And I get that. I really do, because we're all frustrated.
I don't mind an 8 seed again, but again, it's expanded playoffs. It's like, oh, we have playing games now. I mean, why not just have everybody make the playoffs?
Well,
like
it's
a kid's soccer league and everybody makes it and it's a giant round robin. And I mean, what is that? That is not a good product.
Well, look at Sean. They went from 16 teams making the postseason to 20 by doing this. There's 30 teams in the NBA. And I think the NBA, where they were going with this, not only the final 2 teams to make it as a number 9 and 10 seed, but also the fact that you're keeping whoever finished 11th and 12th alive a lot longer than they ordinarily would be. And it's creating interest down the stretch of the regular season. I could see where they're going with that. But yeah, I mean, I agree with your point for the most part. I also think that there's a little bit of emotion in some of the things you said in the latter part of that, although I don't entirely disagree with it. Does that make sense?
I mean,
yeah.
You have, again, they want people involved, and we got to get eyes on the product and keep teams active so they're not. On the same token, you allow guys just to 5 minutes before the game, I'm not playing. Or like we joke about the bad beat refunds. A guy comes in for a minute and sits out. Like, I mean, what is that?
Yeah. And I agree with you. I mean, baseball, you could say the season's too long, but baseball doesn't, at the end of the day, guys are going to get the rest in baseball over 162 game season. And it's been going on for forever in baseball. Where
very few 162 guys. You play 150 games now, you're a monster. 150
so
games.
I can live with that in baseball, and we're used to that. But in the NBA, in an 82 game schedule, I think where Sean was going with the other starting at Christmas, again, like I alluded to in my prior comments, is you're looking at maybe reducing the schedule down to maybe 70 or 66 games, somewhere in that area, 62. And that's never going to happen because of the television network contracts. But you would think the television networks even, and Jesse, we're going to let you chime in on this, give it some thought. I think the television networks, I don't think they'd have much of a problem with starting at Christmas, guys, because stop and think about it. In the first 2 months of the NBA season, which you're talking about an 82 game season, now they've created a product that's diluted during the regular season. And by going to 62 games, for example, starting on Christmas, I mean, you're not competing with the NFL and college football and in the NHL
World Series
for a couple months and the World Series. Jesse, any thoughts? And then we'll go on to our roundtable.
Well, I'm surprised nobody's mentioned the back-to-backs yet. I mean, the first step is eliminating back-to-backs. So then they don't have the excuse of resting the star players. That seems to be the common excuse is, we can't play Embiid in the second of a back-to-back. We can't play Joker in the second of a back-to-back. And then fans end up buying tickets for games where they don't see the players they want to see. So that's one key thing that's not that difficult to do, really. I mean, you can still play a pretty decent schedule without scheduling back-to-back games. You know, I don't get as worked up about it as Sean does, but I don't watch the NBA until the playoffs get a little closer. So and I've been that way for a while, and I'm not going to change until the league changes. So that's the way it is for me.
All right. So there you go, folks. Various opinions on these topics and all good points. In a perfect world, I agree with Sean. Let's cut the season down in the 60s instead of 82, but that's never going to happen because of money. So we live with it. We adapt to it. And like I did and Sean did this year, and I can't speak for Jesse, you just don't give out as many NBA picks unless you have very good information. You're dealing with a solid hand, meaning player availability. I know myself, again, and I don't want people to take this out of context, but the pure numbers, I've gone 38-22 in the NBA playoffs. If you think that knowing the availability of players at playoff time as opposed to regular season doesn't have something to do with my record, I'd be lying. Okay, because you don't go into it wondering who's going to play anymore. You could pretty much if a guy gets hurt and he's questionable or doubtful, you could read into the current line, and find out if there's a chance he's going to play or not. We're all good at that. I think we could all agree to that, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's definitely part of the skill set.
All right, so let's go to game one of the NBA Finals after that interesting conversation, I think. Jesse, Denver, again, -9, 219 is the side in total right now. You're going to get into some other stuff beside the side in total. But again, I've thought of you when I saw this opening line and saw the 9, and it says, I'm going to hear from Jesse. He's going to say, people just keep disrespecting Miami, and I don't know what this. Anyway, I'll let you say what I think you're going to say. Well,
if I felt that strongly about it, I'm nobody can stop me from taking the 9 if I want it, but that's not what I came here to do. In fact, I was going to say, Ross, I remember before the Western Conference Final, you had said quite boldly that it doesn't matter who wins this because they're going to lose to the winner of the Eastern Conference Final anyways. And I'd venture
Boston
to
or
say
the Sixers. He said Boston or the Sixers.
Yeah, I said Boston or the Sixers. So how good did I do? So much for that 38-22 record. Good thing I'm not doing futures projections like I hate. Go ahead, Jesse. I'm sorry.
So I was rubbing my hands together thinking when Denver swept the Lakers, I knew I wanted Denver in the finals. But then the Heat get the upset in Game 7, and I'm looking at the line, and I think the line is, maybe it's fair, but there's no incentive for me to back Denver at that line. I can't do it. Like I said, I'm giving the Heat a puncher's chance. I'm going to say this team isn't just lucky to be here. They deserve to be here. They beat some damn good teams. They played some good ball, and I'm not that eager to bet against them. However, they have some disadvantages, and I just don't see how they're going to stop the Joker. So my plays are going to be focused on Jokic for game 1. He comes in averaging 29.9 points per game, 13.3 rebounds per game, and 10.3 assists per game in the playoffs, which adds up to a total of 53.5. And you might look at that and say, well, that's well above what he averaged in the regular season. And can he sustain that? Is that viable? And I will point out that it's not really well above what he averaged in the regular season. It's pretty much right on. He's just playing 5 more minutes per game because they shortened the bench in the playoffs. So his stats in the playoffs really are the same as they were in the regular season. He's just not getting as much rest throughout the game. I will make another point. I went under with Tatum, Butler, and Brown in game 7, and part of the reason I gave is because the total was sitting at 203. That's a projected low score. That's less points to go around. Here we have a game 1 total of 219, 220, somewhere in that range. I'm not sure where it opened, if it opened at 219 or 220, but anyways, the point being that's significantly more points to go around. That's a higher projected score. And Joker's points total is 27.5, which is less than what he's averaging in the playoffs. And we have a total that's sort of in the average to above average range. And I look at this Miami team, how they rank against Joker. They rank 25th in the NBA in rebounds per game. And I don't know if you guys saw my tweet before the show, but Miami had the shortest starting 5 in the NBA last year. They haven't gotten any taller since then. So, Joker comes in as a beast. I think he's going to feast on this small Miami team, and I just don't see how he doesn't get his points. And then again, his points, rebounds, assists. The total for points, rebounds, assists is 50.5. I already alluded to the fact that he's averaging 53.5 in the playoffs. And I think you got to jump on this early and get in on it in game 1, because as soon as people see the matchup, and if it's as favorable as I expect it to be, you're going to see those numbers go up, and you're not going to be able to take advantage after 1 or 2 games. So those are my plays. Joker over 27.5 points and over 50.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
Okay, so the Joker over 27.5 points, and the Joker over 50.5 rebounds, points, and assists combined. So there you have it from Jesse Schul. And he says the Miami Heat are a small team and take advantage early in the series with the Joker's numbers on props, because they're bound to go up as the series goes along, citing Miami's lack of height down low. And that's a major concern for me, is Miami's lack of height. And like Jesse just said, Sean, Miami didn't get any taller since last year. I'm going to go out on a limb and say an absolute lot, because you haven't got any taller since last year either. So
yeah, we get a little shorter as we get older. Although I don't know if I'm shrinking yet. I don't know when that comes into play. I think I got a couple years for the shrink starts.
How much do we think about this? And again, Sean,
shrinking getting old?
No, about this point here. Because I'm going to make the point too, and maybe Jesse could chime in on this. How much do you guys factor in? Denver comes off a 4-game sweep of the Lakers, 9 days rest. Miami with 2 days rest off a grueling 7-game series, and emotional. Remember, a much more emotional 7-game series than normal. Now, why I say that is, look, game 7 was a no contest, right? Miami blew them out. It didn't go down to the wire, but think about the emotion that Miami had to go through in that series, being up 3-0, and then being on the cusp of being the first team in NBA history to blow a 3-0 series lead until they pulled out game 7. I mean, is there a hangover or carryover into game 1, which would favor Denver in that situation? Sean, before you get your pick, let me just get your thoughts on that, Jesse, real quick.
Well, it's rust versus rest, right? So it is a potential letdown spot for Miami, but it's also a potential trouble spot for Denver, being on the shelf for so long.
Yeah.
So I have to weigh that, right? And I think the height and the matchup concerns with Joker will allow Denver to make up for whatever rust they have. I don't think you get too rusty when you're Joker and you're close to the basket and there's nobody big enough to stop you down low. And that's another reason why I like those props, is because that's going to be an easier strategy to employ than hoping that Jamal Murray is going to come out and be as hot from beyond the arc as he was against the Lakers. That's where the rust might show. So yeah, it's, for me, it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. There's reasons to say it's a disadvantage for Denver, the layoff, and then a disadvantage for the Heat with the letdown spot and coming off that grueling series.
Yes, and Sean, having said all that and hearing what Jesse had to say and I had to say, your thoughts on that, the rest going into game one, and then go right into your pick, buddy.
Well, yeah, well, that kind of like works into what I was going to say here with the rest versus Russ, and as it is, you guys both hit it. Not that we're not stealing each other's thunders because we kind of think alike, right? You had a team up 3-0, then they're down 0-3. It's a must-win game. Usually game sevens, it's like 2-1, 3-2, kind of battle back and forth. This was not like that. Not a roller coaster at all. It was like two separate series inside of the entire finals there. But I'm going under here based on that. Based on you're off a crazy game, a crazy series. You have a team that's been off. And with the NBA playoffs, it seems like 2 weeks. It just seems like we haven't seen them play since when's the last time they played? I mean,
9 days.
Like and here we go. This is why the NBA is a mess. Let's just take 3 days off between games. At least here it was a short. Sometimes I'm shocked this isn't like a Saturday night game, right? Because usually that's an NBA kind of thing. We'll play Monday and then we're off till Saturday. We need all the eyes to watch us. Thank goodness they did something right here. Give me the under. We've seen Miami play solid defense. We've seen them miss shots. We've seen this like a whirlwind of Miami, right? We saw them against the Knicks not get to 100. We've seen them score almost 130 versus Boston. Now you're up in the Mile High. You're a home court, pretty good home court advantage for whatever reason. Whether the team's really good, whether it's the altitude, teams have trouble playing here. Off a game 7. Everything else wrapped up. We put it all together. Guys haven't played in 9 days. I get it. Jesse said Murray coming shooting the lights out, going 7 for 11 or whatever, some kind of crazy number from outside or whoever. Insert anybody who's going to have a game. You're like, wow, I didn't see that coming. I don't think that's happening. Give me the under here. Give me the under.
Right.
If Miami gets to 100, I'll actually be shocked if they can get to like 101 and 5. I don't think they're getting that high.
Well, they scored 103 or less in each of their last 4 games.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're lighting it up, and
I kind of like the over in that final. I'm like, man, 203, 204. I said this series opened at like a 214, and it's come all the way down. Like I thought it was a drastic overreaction, but maybe it's not. This is a team that's plays the way they play. We saw them play out that way the last 4 games. Even 5 of these 6 games, all under is this number.
Yeah, and
rest of the Denver team, I don't know what to expect. Give me the under.
Yeah, well, it didn't shock me there was a low-scoring game in Game 7. I thought, as opposed to an overreaction, when you had the first 6 games all have totals of 210.5 or greater, and all of a sudden it plummets to 203. I thought there was good reason for that. And then if you read my analysis, you folks out there who read my analysis on my Game 7 pick, which was on the under, I brought you to Game 7's history in the NBA playoffs. And on the majority of occasions, Game 7s go under, and they average less than 200 a game, somewhere around 195. So, yeah, I could see why anybody would think that was an overreaction. But by the same token, you could look at it from another angle and say, look, the sports books don't act emotionally. Why would they move this 7 points or 7.5 points, whatever? So there's 2 schools of thought to that. In any event, Sean likes Denver and Miami to go under 219 in Game 1. Here's where I'm going to go, guys. And I'm going to give you Jesse's favorite thing, an NBA betting angle, without him rolling his eyes, because I've been using these pretty good throughout the course of the playoffs, and they've been working quite successfully based on my record. And not to say that it's a sure thing, or it doesn't, I don't go through tough times using angles. I do. But during the postseason, they've worked very well. And since the 2004 NBA Finals, home teams in Game 1 are 16-2 straight up and 15-3 against the spread. And that includes 8-0 straight up in ATS if those home teams in Game 1 of the NBA Finals were a favorite of 5.5 to 11.5, which Denver obviously qualifies at -9. And the average margin of victory in those 8 games was 15 points. And I can guarantee you if there was a situation, it's probably very minute situation over the course of those 18 years where a team was coming off 9 days rest as a home team, playing a team coming off a game 7 3 days earlier, 2 days earlier, whatever the case may be. So I think there's a lot of credence to that. It favors Denver. Denver also, guys, since the start of the 2021-22 season or 2020-21 season, is 6-0 straight up in ATS against Miami. So they've had their number, winning by 13.1 points per game. And the rest factor I mentioned, and, I mentioned Miami only scoring 103 or less in the last 4. Well, Denver has scored 113 or more in 7 of their last 8. And Denver is also 8-0 straight up and 5-3 against the spread in the playoffs at home. I am going to have a small lean here. It's not going to be a gigantic play for me because I really don't want a latest. I really, really look for a reason to use Miami, but I think a lot of people are going to be in love with Miami because they're the underdog. I think you're going to see at least the equal amount of bets on Miami in game 1 in Denver at the very least. So I'm going with Denver here. I'm going to lay the 9. I like them to win by 13 to 15 points in game 1. And, we talk about Miami and we'll get your guys' thoughts real quickly here. Everybody keeps talking about Miami being undervalued, Miami being overlooked, Miami being underrated, but Denver's heard the same thing. Milwaukee and Boston weren't hearing the same thing. Milwaukee was a favorite to get to the NBA Finals. They were a number 1 overall seed in the entire NBA. Boston was thought to be a sure lock to get to the NBA Finals when Milwaukee went down. And then after beating Philly, yet it's here we are with Miami, right? But Denver, on the other hand, everybody was looking for a reason to shun them. They're not good for a number 1 seed. They played in a weak conference. Whatever have you. I think Denver will come out very inspired in game 1 here at home and come up with a big win. So I'm going to lay the 9, Jesse.
Well, Ross, I just hope they don't win by 30 and pull the starters in the 4th quarter, and that prevents Joker from getting his numbers. But it's hard to disagree with that. I'm a little bit worried about the rust factor, but I'm not really worried about Joker I think that disadvantage for Miami with the height and the rebounding is going to be a factor, and I just don't see any stopping the Joker, and I think they can just live off of that alone. Denver can.
There you go. And Sean, Miami and Denver, just what I said in terms of the side.
Yeah, I listen. It's you see that big 8.5, 9, and are they begging to take Miami again? Because we saw them at a 8.5 point dog in game 1, 10 point dog in game 2, 3.5 dog in game 3, an 8 or 9 point dog again in game 5, then an 8 or 9 point dog again in game 7 or 7.5, whatever it came down to. Zero respect for him. But you flip it to this is just a tough spot. The scoring part, are they going to score? I think Denver will score either way. You got a giant inside who could just dunk the ball. He's not going to Steph Curry it up and take 17 threes. He's going to be inside the whole time. They should win this game by 10 going away.
Yeah, and
that's fine. Listen, 111-97. Give me that under.
And don't panic if you're on Denver and you follow me if Miami gets off to a good start in this game, because I think they will. I think just based on them playing regularly over the last week and a half or so and Denver not, there's a good possibility Miami gets off to a good start in this game, and then Denver, some of the points that Jesse said about the height advantage and Joker, Denver eventually wears them down as the game goes on.
If you don't think Miami's going to come out tough here, you don't know their metal. I mean, they pulled off an improbable win in game 6 to get here. And then it wasn't like they were flat or like, oh my goodness. They came out with them like you're coming off a big win. They're going to have emotion for a quarter here. Then it's, you kind of peak off that adrenaline a little bit. Then, the pull away, the rest and all that's going to wear off for the Miami, the high of that win. So
yeah, sure.
I agree with you going away for the win.
That's just for game 1, folks. That's not like you say that Miami's going to be tired the whole series. So game 1, you have the picks. Jesse, tell the folks once again who you like tonight. or tomorrow night in the game 1 of the NBA Finals. And then real quickly, how you been doing of late and what you may have coming up, guys. We got 2 minutes.
All right. I like Joker over 27.5 points. I like Joker over 50.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I am 32-17. That's 65% in the NBA playoffs, including the play-in. And right now, you can take advantage of my Dog Days of Summer promotion. 50% off weekly and monthly packages at jesseshul.com. And I won't have to mention how well I've done in the summers. You can check that out at on Twitter.
There you go. jesseshul.com is where you can find him. Jesse, I think the last I checked, you were number 1 in the NBA playoffs in win percentage at Sports Memo, and I'm number 1 in win percentage in the NBA playoffs and money earned. So there you go. And then if you look at Sean Higgs, he's on a couple of the leaderboards over at picksandparleys.net, and he's going to tell you what he may have coming up and what's been going on of late for him.
Well, I'll hype Jesse up here. For the last 3 years, he posted, for 4 years, 63, like basically an average about 63% for his summer plays. Not too shabby.
Yeah.
My NBA playoffs, I'm 15-11. So again, I'm more selective. I've only been 65 or 66 games all season in the NBA. So I'm like Ross, NBA time, a little better product. So Twitter, Mr. Sean Higgs, you can find me over there. The Midday Money Show is live noon. 7 days a week on your favorite podcast channels and on the YouTube channels. And I'll have a little NBA. Got the under 219 here for a Thursday night game 1 finals. But I love my MLB, so that's where I'll have most of my plays during the summer there. So give me the baseball.
There you go. Sean's a big baseball guy, but 15-11 is not too shabby in the NBA playoffs. So all 3 of us with winning records during the NBA postseason. Can't go wrong no matter where you go. jesseshul.com for Jesse, picksandparleys.net for Ross, RB win, or excuse me, for Sean.
Well, Ross is on there too. Yeah, we're all on.
Yeah, we're all on there. At least I called you Craig at the beginning of the show yesterday, by the way, and you weren't even here. Anyway, long story about that, folks. But you can find me at rbwins.com, 38-22 in the NBA playoffs, number 1 over at Sports Memo, right up there. And every site I'm on in the NBA playoffs, that's good for 63%. A lot of money earned there. And that includes going 21-9 with my last 30 NBA playoff selections, which is good for 70%. My totals were off to a slow start in the NBA playoffs, but 4-0-1 with my totals in my last 5 in the NBA playoffs, 31-14 on my sides, and 32-16 with my last 48 NBA 10-star top plays, which are my highest rated selections. Until the next time, for Jesse Shul and Sean Higgs, we will see you again tomorrow, and we'll be discussing, we'll see you again on Friday. We'll be discussing game 2 of the NBA Finals on Friday. And until the next time, for Jesse Shul, Sean Higgs, and Ross Benjamin, don't forget to give us a like. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that notification bell to be alerted immediately upon any of our sports betting videos here on this channel going up. Until the next time, take care and God bless, folks.